Welcome to Making the Difference, the True North Conversations, powered by the purpose-led independent law firm, Brabners. I'm Michael Hayman, and over the course of 6 episodes, I'll be speaking to entrepreneurs and business leaders from across the North, each providing incredible insights, stories, and a commitment to people, communities, and the Northern economy. It's bold ideas for change, from a constellation of Northern stars, doing things differently and making the difference. I'm joined today by Robert White, the Chief Executive of Brabners and the Co-Chair of True North. Robert, welcome to the True North Conversations. I mean, it's great to see you, not least because you are one of the co-chairs, founder co-chair of the True North Network. I mean, you must be very proud of it. What a great achievement.
I am immensely proud. I remember when we spoke about it, probably early 23, mid 23, went through the roundtable series in the summer of 23. We didn't know whether or not people were going to engage with it. And here we are 2 years later with, I think, a thriving network of fantastic businesses.
I mean, we've been talking to businesses all day today as part of this series. And they are all incredible businesses making the difference. I mean, at sort of different parts of their journey from start to scale, but also businesses a bit like Brabners, right? I mean, you're chief exec of Brabners, that's the day job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, introduce the business for us as part of, I suppose, the family of True North.
Yeah, so Brabners is a purpose-led independent law firm. And I guess that the purpose element of it and the independence is really critical. That's a real nod to who we are. We're a business that's over 200 years old, and actually we use that as our strength. There's a huge, a real degree of heritage that runs through the business, and that's how we run it. We see it as our job in terms of making the difference. Is to leave the business in a far better place than when we got our hands on it.
I mean, I think independence has been a theme that a lot of the businesses have really sort of empathised with and reflected on. I mean, in terms of what that allows the business to do, in terms of the decision-making criteria, I suppose, and in terms of its direction of travel, how would you sum up its character?
I would say it's everything. I would say True North is a fantastic example of what the in we make the difference means. And it's our independence.
Right. And I think we should qualify that we make the difference is the mission, right?
Yes, it is the mission.
Yeah. It leads us, as you correctly say, to True North. In terms of framing it, the macro picture, what it is, why it matters, where it's going, give us a pitch.
There's two sides of the coin here, really, as it relates to True North. It's actually about stepping into the opportunity that is there and playing our part as a purpose-led business community in unlocking the North's true potential. There's fantastic stuff happening here, fantastic businesses that are happening here that you don't generally hear about.
No, that's right. Yeah.
So I'd say that's the stepping into the opportunity bit. The born out of frustration bit is everybody knows that there is a chasm between northern productivity and northern prosperity. The key question is, what are we going to do about it? And so again, the and we make the difference is, as True North and as Brabners, playing our part as responsible businesses in unlocking the potential and thereby addressing the productivity and prosperity.
But I suppose critically though, business led.
Yes.
I mean, this is not something that's coming from the state. This is something about businesses self-organising and I suppose self-advocating in terms of their position. Because I think what you put your finger on is a really important one, which is who shines a light on progress where you're seeing it, right?
And so there's a whole multi-layer, whole host of reasons why probably the key element of True North is exactly that. It is about business, and it's about how business can, and actually how businesses are playing their part, because the opportunities and the challenges that we all know exist are generational. And so part of True North is advocating moving beyond short-term political cycles, for example. And businesses get that. They know that you need to think long-term, and they have a brilliant, amazing track record around delivery.
And they're looking, I think, also for a kind of ambition culture, right?
Yeah.
You know, they want to go big.
Yeah.
They want to stay rooted. They know where they're from. They know what they're about. But they want to go as far as they can go. And there is something about ambition that came up in the conversations that we've been having today, which is about the future of the ecosystem. And I suppose another ambitious way of looking at True North is 500 plus businesses now that actually need to have their place in the sun, right?
Yeah.
They need that sort of support. And what we've heard about today is everything from access to capital, access to people, access to markets. I mean, this is a manifesto, an agenda for the North, isn't it?
It is. There's several aspects to True North in that respect, in that businesses, I think, understand and they get it. And there is a truth that a lot of businesses, particularly privately owned, owner-managed businesses, have perhaps felt unheard, not listened to, and that they don't have a voice. And so True North is really designed, it's there to create the platform, the community that gives them that voice, whether it's inside the community. I mean, it's not a lobbying organisation, but it gives a voice to these businesses that maybe haven't had the light shone on them.
And it's impossible not to be enthused and motivated. And I think, we both say that, wouldn't we? In terms of, have to pick it up in terms of your own experience. There's like the businesses you've met, and I suppose the impact that it's had on you as a leader.
I mean, it is just unbelievably encouraging. There have been times where, like everybody, you get kind of worn down by the bump and grind. Yeah. And I'll just show up at whether it's a True North event or going into academies, going into communities, meeting businesses that I didn't even know existed, that perhaps, you might characterize as unsexy in terms of what they do, but they're massively innovative. And you just walk out with a real spring in your step, and it just gives this sense that we have hit upon this theme.
Yeah, and I suppose it's the awakening, I suppose, of the idea of business as a force for progress.
Yes.
Right? That actually it's part of the connective tissue of communities and societies, and that actually making sure that you have climates and environments where small firms can thrive and medium-sized big firms can thrive. But that business has a role beyond profit in terms of the difference that it makes.
Absolutely. And, I kind of view it in calendar years, really. So 2024, having launched, was actually about building the network. 2025 was that. And really, I think getting a real sense of what do we actually stand for as a network. And one of the key things is all about collaboration. Yeah. And that's collaboration within the network, outside the network, across the region as a whole, public, private, the whole thing, because and I'll say when purposefully, when we do address the productivity chasm that we all know exists, it has to be done through collaboration. Right. We have to move beyond the old-fashioned way of, if one part of the region loses, another one wins, and vice versa.
I mean, I think alongside that collaboration is also the issue of empowerment, isn't it? I mean, a lot of the businesses that we've been talking to will talk about kind of what they've unleashed in terms of potential, and of course, a lot of what we are living through in the north of England is a devolved climate where a lot of that empowerment is now starting to sort of reveal itself, I guess. And I know that you are a big a big believer in it, Robert. I mean, make the case for us, will you?
Yeah, well, I, alongside collaboration, another one of the things that we stand for is making devolution work. And I even before all this, I was a really strong advocate, partly because I had my own fingers burnt in trying to run a business, that was geographically miles away, centrally, and it just is more difficult. And so, the centralized model just doesn't work. And therefore devolution has to be part of the answer. Yeah. Has to be the key that unlocks.
And it has to have very entrepreneurial traits like belief, trust, or business traits actually.
And businesses get that. Yeah. And therefore, I guess that feeds into the collaboration bit, with a devolved power that I think will naturally more so think longer term beyond short-term political cycles, engaging with the business community and engaging with them on delivery has to be the route to success.
I mean, and when you look at where we are today in terms of, I suppose, those who've got their hands on the policy levers and in terms of actually have got the job with making this work, I mean, what's both sides of the ledger like for you in terms of, I suppose, the opportunities and obstacles to actually, because I think nobody can disagree with the idea that actually the more power you put in people's hands, in theory, the better the outcome should be. Well, where are we though on the journey?
I think there are different parts of the region that are at different stages, and that's the really exciting thing, I think. And so, for example, if you look at, and I'm always hesitant about comparing regions because that goes against, but I think you just have to do that. So,
Careful with what you're about to say.
I know. So if you look at Manchester, for example, as a combined authority, which is perhaps further along the journey than other parts of the region, you can really start to see devolution, collaboration, place-based investment in infrastructure, transport, energy, the things we know about, is all starting to deliver greater economic growth. Not just in Manchester, but in now increasingly the regions around it, like Trafford, Salford, Oldham. If you look at Liverpool, for example, that's that's not quite as far along, but you can start to see it in Liverpool itself. Hasn't yet permeated out into the other authorities in the combined authorities. So there's now, and I quite
there's
often say
critical mass moments
starting to,
and presumably both sides of the Pennines on that,
right?
And
Yorkshire as well,
and it gives a sense of, I suppose, what the operating conditions might be. But tell us about the businesses that you're meeting, because of course we've had a big focus on what we call the Northern Stars. These are the perhaps a more entrepreneurial part of the True North community, but there are also very big businesses involved in this. I mean, it's a real, gives a sense of the mix of that community.
Yeah, so it's part of the reason why I tend not to use the SME thing. I talk about privately owned, owner-managed businesses typically because there are huge businesses.
Never anybody that likes the term SME.
Well, exactly, I don't. And the network is represented across probably the majority of sectors that you could think about, represented across the region as a whole, and all different types and sizes of businesses. And I guess the thing that brings them all together is this desire to be part of the solution.
That's right. I think there's an implied positivity. There's a sense that actually you can build cultures that can last, that can grow. And I also think, is there something about a real belief in the best of people? Is there something in that that's another common denominator?
There definitely is. And that's part of the reason we talk about purpose-led businesses, because business, in my view, has to be part of the answer. And therefore, particularly as it relates to collaborating with, let's say, public bodies, there has to be that trust that actually we are all in this together as a community as a whole. and you can trust purpose-led businesses to do the right thing.
But there's still a way to go. I mean, we've spoken to people that are, one business that's kind of healthy, that's come out of an NHS experience. I mean, lots of people that are in this kind of, I suppose, intersectional sort of like relationship between, I suppose, worlds where trust in business is not what it could be. Maybe there are good reasons why that is the case, but you've also got that unbridled optimism that actually business is a problem solver, it's a solution provider, and I suppose if you've got with a conversation like this, I suppose there's a platform in terms of actually what is the potential of Northern business in terms of actually, as you see it, to be part of that mission, I guess.
It's huge. And I do think we are in a moment in time where devolution, a recognition that investment needs to happen, and the idea of collaborating is creating this moment in time, and businesses are ready to play their part in that. And again, there are great examples, here in Liverpool, for example, where when the public sector invests, the private sector then tenfold comes in and invests in programs grounded in place that have a huge regenerative positive. And I guess that's just illustrative that business has to be part of the answer, but also they have a great track record on delivery as well.
It almost feels like the metaphor in my mind is of unleashing the spring.
I think that's fantastic.
To spring forward. And but I suppose in terms of the question that comes on top of that is how far can the spring go? Because I've just got back from the States. I mean, the city that comes to mind that I'm thinking about is Austin, where I spent some time. And the entrepreneurial energy is not only palpable, it's part of what makes the place tick. Because it's not like the entrepreneur is the receiving end. It actually is the originator. It informs the universities. It informs the culture of some of the biggest global corporations that are there because of that energy. I suppose in terms of looking at the north of England in terms of an entrepreneurial dream or a business dream for the north, I mean, how far has it got to go, and how easy is it to narrate that in the same way that you might understand, say, an American dream?
I think it is easy to narrate it. And I also believe the answers are in plain sight. That doesn't mean to say that it is easy to unlock the opportunity. And you mentioned the Northern Stars earlier. Part of the reasoning behind the Northern Stars was and is to shine a light on these great businesses that are doing great things, almost to demonstrate that it's happening, and hopefully to create the impression that the North is a fantastic place. So there has been lazy stereotypes about what Northern business is about. And I guess, Northern Stars, True North, the whole positioning around it is aspirational. So I'm tempted to say the sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. Yeah.
And I was at an event this week, actually, where as a country, but as a region, we over-index on startups. However, we under-index on scale-ups. And the impact that scale-ups have on prosperity and productivity is amplified.
Enormous.
It's enormous. And so what we have to do in partnership with all the relevant stakeholders is understand what are the things that are preventing our startups becoming scale-ups, and then how do we build around them. It's a bit, I was thinking as I was kind of listening to it, if you think about British Cycling and GB, the fundamental cultural shift there was that the support mechanism shifted such that the athlete was at the centre. And I think we have to have that kind of mentality where these scale-up businesses are at the centre.
Yeah, and maybe that's another way of looking at what True North is all about.
Exactly.
It's a destination, right? And I suppose the thing is it's not necessarily as easy as just saying it's a point-and-shoot exercise about scale-ups. This is about the next generation that's going to come through. This is about, the S&P used to have a fantastic stat about how many world-beating businesses hadn't even started yet. And what they showed was how that picture was accelerating. So if you look at AI businesses, if you look at the sort of the whole wave of new generation businesses that are going to grow quickly, I suppose this is all part of how you create the conditions for success for them here in the North. And that could be everything as far back as into schools, into startup cultures, and then ultimately into scale-up support.
Absolutely. And I think that does then lead into, well, why are we doing this? You know, and we quite often talk about True North is to some extent an adapter.
Yeah.
It's about putting together the different parts and plugging them together. Yeah. And that does lead into, you know, why am I as chief exec of Brabners? With your help and others.
Review meeting.
No.
But it's a good question. Why do it?
Because
life could be a lot easier.
Yeah, the nature of our business is it takes us into so many of these different areas that we can act as that convener, as the adapter, and bringing together these different elements of opportunity such that we create the environment.
Well, I have to say, I've been walking the floors today, and I've met loads of Brabners colleagues, and I mean, I can tell you, loads of people have come up to me with, "Oh, I've got this business. Oh, I'd love to introduce you to." Oh, you know, there's a genuine. I mean, I think there is a give, but I think there's also a get, right? You know, in terms of, I suppose, the cultural excitement, the kind of the sense of mission, the sense of value add that you're supporting. That is not just kind of, you know, one or two people in a business, but actually a firm-wide, hopefully growing appreciation of what it's all about.
Yeah, and look, as you know, True North is all about kind of data-led practical solutions, and I would say that is also the case of Brabners. We're all about substance and actually doing things. That is the in we make the difference. And so, like, True North is there, and our mission to make the difference is there for people to engage in, because it is a true reflection, I think, of who we are. So I'm delighted to hear that people are engaging with you.
We've got some new ideas and members. But let's come back to the sort of, I suppose, the True North ideal. I've asked the same closing question for all of our guests in these conversations. But, you know, this idea that True North is a direction of travel.
Yep.
It's a direction of travel for businesses, but it's also a direction of travel for people, right? You know, in terms of actually where this is taking you, how this is affecting you. How is True North as a co-chair of the organisation, where I suppose in many ways you are at the pivot of setting the course? How does it affect you as a leader?
It renews my sense of aspiration. And, you know, as I say, you go out and meet these businesses that are doing great stuff, and it just renews that sense of the entrepreneurialism, the aspiration, the desire to succeed, but more so the desire to succeed for the good of the communities as a whole that they operate in is live, kicking, and healthy.
And tangible.
And tangible, absolutely. And so, it is inspiring. And I've been to a whole host of events and businesses where I come away feeling inspired. And so it's renewed my own enthusiasm for business, you know.
What a great place to end it then, Robert. Thank you so much for joining me on the True North Conversations.
No, thank you.